received a grant to develop to help us in our preaching space and invite all of the congregation into a time of wondering with the gospel. For me, this has been really important because, as you've heard me say before, you don't have to take my word for it. And being able to wonder with each other at what we're hearing can be quite a blessing because we all have so many different things that we hear. So hopefully you can see all right, or if not, feel free to shift around. And today, our story actually begins slightly differently than it did in the reading. We're going to begin at the temple, where a crowd had been gathering. Some people were talking about the temple and how it was decorated with beautiful stones and ornaments, all dedicated to God. How beautiful this is, they said. And then Jesus approached the crowd. He said, "For all the things you are admiring, the time is coming when not even one stone will be left upon another. All will be demolished." They asked him, "Teacher, when will these things happen? How will we know? What signs will tell us that these things are about to happen?" And Jesus said, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On earth, there will be dismay among nations and confusion over the roaring of the sea and the surging waves. The planets and other heavenly bodies will be shaken, and people will faint from fear and foreboding of what is coming upon the world. Then they will see the human one coming on a cloud of power and great splendor. Now when these things begin to happen, stand up straight. Raise your heads. Your redemption is near." Jesus told them a parable. "Look at the fig tree and all of the trees. When they sprout leaves, you can see for yourselves and know that summer is near. In the same way, when you see these signs happening, you know that God's kingdom is near. I assure you that this generation won't pass away until everything has happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away." He continues, "Take care that your hearts are not dulled by drinking parties, drunkenness, and all the anxieties of day-to-day life. Don't let that day fall upon you unexpectedly like a trap. It will come upon everyone who lives on the face of the whole earth. Stay alert at all times, praying that you are strong enough to escape everything that is about to happen and to stand before the human one." Every day, Jesus was teaching at the temple, and he spent his nights at the Mount of Olives. So a few weeks ago, we heard Mark's version of this story. It was Jesus' disciples who were walking with him, And they stopped to admire the buildings. And Jesus told them that nation will rise against nation and violence will happen. And in this story, Jesus approaches a crowd of people who have already gathered at the temple. I wonder which of these stories feels more like Jesus to you. The second one, Jesus coming to the crowd. Yeah, a few other nods. Why is that? Why does that feel more like Jesus? Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, Jesus is there to spread love, kindness, not fear. And so Jesus is going to the people to tell them that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little different. Jesus approaching the people instead of just being with his disciples. It's interesting that feels different. Jesus talks about this tumultuous return of the human one, or as we also heard in our previous reading, is sometimes translated Son of Man. I wonder, what does that name mean to you? Somebody who's human. Yeah.
It's a more accessible name.
Yeah, right. The human one is a little more accessible.
This is teaching, this is a special human.
Yeah, right. This is a special human. Coming on a cloud of power and great glory. It's a pretty profound image. How does that image help you think about the human one? It's pretty special. Tangible. Yeah, that's a good word. It's tangible. It's a vivid image.
He belongs to us.
That Jesus belongs to us. Yeah. I wonder what it means when Jesus says that we should stand up straight and raise our heads because our redemption is near. Pay attention. I'm sorry? Yeah, don't be afraid. Don't feel ashamed. Very anticipatory. Yeah, right. It's coming of the human one.
Yes, stand up, pay attention. Live your life according to
Live your life paying attention. That's a good way of putting it. I like that. We've talked before about what it means to see and to live your life with the clarity of seeing. If the sprouting of the fig tree means that summer is near, this means that the time before the fig tree sprouts its leaves is winter. So I wonder what it means to you that Jesus likens the kingdom of God to summertime and our present moment to winter. Coming out of the darkness to light. A reaper. Yeah, right. Preparing for a harvest season. Yeah. Coming we're getting ready to enter into kind of our more winter season right now. I wonder what that feels like for you. Yeah, me too. You're excited? Why is that? Yeah. So there's joy in the wintertime. You're gathering with those that you love, yep, celebrating Christmas. So even though there's dormancy, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's no activity. Yeah.
Anticipation.
Right, in the anticipation of what is to come. Yeah. I wonder what it means that the opposite of letting our hearts be dull is to stay alert. Sometimes we hear in the gospel, do not harden your hearts. Here we're hearing, do not dull your hearts. What does it mean for the opposite of that? Always showing love. Being open, keeping faith. Yeah, not being pulled down by everyday life or being cynical. And Jesus even says in the story, right, don't worry about the day to day. What does that mean to you? Yeah, MJ. I love every joy about life. Yeah, and if you're being alert, then you can notice all of those joys. You're not going to overlook anything. You can be grateful for all of those little joys. So maybe a dulling of the heart is kind of a lack of awareness to all of those joys. Yeah, it does, absolutely. So dullness is a slow process that happens over time. And so maintaining alertness or activity helps to prevent that process from happening. Yeah, I like that. As we certainly know as we get older, we often lose that sight of joy. We become dull to a lot of things. It's often why children play such an important role in Jesus' parables. So I wonder where the good news is for you in this story. And there will be a rebirth coming. Jesus will be among us. And for me, that there is an antidote to the dullness, and it is as easy as paying attention. I hope that this season of Advent can be one that we pay attention to the light of God around us. And we can share all of the small joys